My name is Keith Campbell and I'm a candidate in the forthcoming mayoral elections being held on the 19th of March 2016. I was born in Kingaroy and I've lived in Kingaroy for all of my life, with the exception of 2 or 3 years when I was pursuing one of my careers. I grew up on a family property at Burnett near Campbell. I was educated in Kingaroy, and then I pursued a career in banking for 5 years. Then I came to Kingaroy as the General Manager of the Bean Growers Australia group of companies, and during the final years of my being with them, I became a councillor with the Kingaroy Shire Council and retired at the age of 60, and then when the South Burnett Regional Council amalgamations occurred, I put my hand up for councillor in that role and became the Deputy Mayor, and that's a position that I've held for the last 8 years. So that's a sum total of 3 careers, a lot of experience that I've gained through banking, through general managership involving financial management, involving leadership, involving issues of governance, and determining the level of profitability or otherwise for the company. And I've been able to use the skills and experience that I've accumulated in those positions to very good purpose within the local government scenario. The first point I looked at was whether or not I had the skills and the experience to do the job. The second was, do I really enjoy local government sufficiently to want to commit to another 4 years and beyond? And the third point was the genuine love and interest that I have in the South Burnett and the people, the organisations that make up the South Burnett. And when I considered all those factors, I know that I am a relatable person to all age groups, to the young, mid-range, as well as the elderly. I love engaging with people, and it appears that they enjoy speaking with me. So when I put all those factors together, my experience, my love of the region, my enjoyment and pleasure in relating with people, I considered that I had the necessary credentials in order to take the position of Mayor to the people and allow them the opportunity to vote for me, believing that I was presenting them with a candidate who was very capable of doing the job. I think it's important that a person in a mayoralty position should consider all the facts associated with any project. So it's a case of assembling the points for and the points against, and then making a decision. Now, I've listened to both sides of the story, probably more so from the Kingaroy Concerned Citizens Group, and I have to say that on the basis of the information that they've supplied and contributed, it's fairly difficult to even contemplate that a mine so close to Kingaroy would gain or gather any level of support from the people within Kingaroy. And I'd have to say that that was emphasised very, very strongly in the public meeting that was held in the Kingaroy Town Hall recently. From a personal point of view, and based on the information supplied by the Kingaroy Concerned Citizens Group, the information that they're presenting tells me that it is not a project that is surrounded by lots of new jobs. It's not a project that's going to be unencumbered in terms of the dust, noise, light that people within Kingaroy and the village of Tabinga would experience. And people, I will listen to the views and the sentiments of people within this town, and I have to say at this point of time, my verdict is no, because it does not tick the boxes that the people within this community would be happy with. And my point would be, why bring a supposedly new industry into this area if it's going to create a whole lot of new problems. We don't need that. Yes, we do need new industry without any question, but we don't need industry that's going to run contrary to what the people within this region actually want. New industry that forms and can live happily and harmoniously within our community is what we want. And I don't see the Moreton Resources coal mine as fulfilling the type of objectives that we as a community within the Kingaroy area would actually support. And I know as a mayoral candidate I need to contemplate and be in consideration of people throughout the whole of the South Burnett. Yes, a new project, a new business has the opportunity of producing jobs for the whole of the South Burnett region and possibly beyond, but I don't see this one fulfilling that goal. The South Burnett Regional Council, indeed any regional council, needs to work with organisations other than just within its own group when it's taking a look at the introduction of new businesses within an area or inviting new businesses to come into the area. So how does the South Burnett Regional Council attempt to do this? Well, working through the Wide Bay Burnett region and their economic development arm is one way in which it can be done. The other way is the South Burnett Directions Economic Development Unit that is attached to the South Burnett Regional Council is another. The other is that any responsible council would be presenting themselves to federal and state politicians to let them know just what the state of play is, you know, within the region. Jobs, providing jobs for our families and our kids when they get to working age is a really important consideration. So what would I do? Well, what I would do is present our case to the aforementioned that I stated, but in addition to that, take a look around at other highly populated areas, we'll say on the eastern coastline, where already the pressure that must be existing in some of those locations must be quite enormous. There are industries that are appropriate for regional areas, and there are other businesses that are probably more appropriate for the highly built up areas. We have an abundance of industrial land within the South Burnett region. We would be open, we would welcome with open arms the opportunity of bringing some of those businesses to our region to set up. There are a number of other factors. Tourism will be one that is another opportunity. We've got plenty of great tourist opportunities within the South Burnett. We think of the Bunya Mountains, we think of Bunduma, we think of Yallakul, we have our wineries, we have our Bunduma Homestead, we have also Ringsfield Homestead in Toowoomba. There's a lot of places where people can come and visit. So tourism is a great opportunity. The other factor, of course, is that we need to make ourselves look sharp and smart. Our towns and villages need to be attractive so that when people do visit and have a great time in our area, they can go back home and tell their friends to encourage them to come out to the region to visit and to support our businesses here. One of the best ways of boosting the opportunities is take a look at the existing businesses that are within the region. And if we're being really honest, we have a number of businesses that exist throughout the towns within the South Burnett who are doing amazing things in terms of expanding their businesses. Now, I believe that a council should be doing things in level of support, such as road infrastructure. I know there are businesses within our region that bring agricultural product from places outside of the Burnett and necessarily need to stop their vehicles at Geelong, decouple and bring their vehicles into Kingaroy, Wandai, Mergen, because the road network is not sufficiently great to enable the transportation of these heavy vehicles. That's not good, and that's a distinct disadvantage to these businesses, and that's something that we really need to concentrate on. One of the other factors that I think is just absolutely paramount and sits there right out in front of us all the time, we talk about new businesses. The best business that we have within this region is our agricultural industry, and it is claimed that our industry or our agricultural land in this region is as good as, if not better, than many other locations within Australia. And why is it so that our farmers at different times are so distressed and depressed is because the seasons can sometimes, if not too frequently, deliver lack of rainfall at a crucial time of the growth of the crops. I think it's a great project for a council to undertake to see if we can't attract water to enable at least some additional areas within the South Burnett to be irrigated. Now that may mean some farmers may choose to grow different crops. It may mean some farmers won't be interested in upgrading their infrastructure in order to produce different crops. Water, should it become available to the region, will come at an expense. And in order for them to be able to repay loans that may be necessary for them to build up their infrastructure, there's a very distinct possibility that they're going to need to consider growing other crops. Take vegetables, for example, take tree crops, for example, be it avocados or walnuts or some of those other types of crops. So if we continue to do what we've always done, we will continue to get what we've always got. Now, agriculture, as I said earlier, is one of the industries that sit out there in front of us where, in my view, insufficient attention has been given to it by the existing council here. And I'm I'd be very, very happy to support that as a project through the South Burnett Regional Council to ensure that agriculture gets the level of attention that it deserves, so that agriculture growing, agriculture producing new job opportunities, agriculture contributing toward manufacturing, value adding, agriculture contributing toward export opportunities, agriculture utilising the services of the Wellcamp Airport. I think it's an exciting opportunity, and just imagine how that could represent itself in terms of our towns within the South Burnett if we had so much more activity going on our properties where additional people were able to be employed. The economy of our region would really start to bubble along quite nicely. The great thing about living in the South Burnett is the agricultural surroundings, the great landscapes, the beautiful scenery. We have some absolutely amazing scenery within our area. We have beautiful locations that we can visit. There are sufficient facilities within the South Burnett region to do our shopping. We are well serviced in terms of our schools for children, medical services, some opportunities for expansion there. But everything that I and my family need is provided here in the South Burnett. Additional to that is we're probably 2.5 hours max away from some of the larger centres. So on those occasions when we do want to get away for a weekend or what have you, it's only a short drive to some other locations and be very thankful to return back to a place that we can call home and live out our time very, very happily. There really aren't too many negatives in living in the South Burnett at all. I have people who talk to me about transport, their desire to get to, say, Toowoomba, and there isn't a bus service. There used to be in years gone by. Their desire to get to Brisbane, yes, they can do, but these days it is less convenient for them than it used to be in times gone by. So we have an airport, we don't have a daily air service. That represents a negative as well. But in general, there are ways around all of those situations that still make living in the South Burnett a great place to be. I know how important roads are to everyone, and I know that there are lots of roads within the South Burnett region where residents would like to be able to see those roads upgraded. Roads are really broken into at least three factors. We have roads that are state-controlled roads, we have roads that we own as a council, local roads, and there's some federal roads as well. Now, the reality is that there is not a sufficient amount of money in either the federal, state or local government in order to do the roads or the road networks as people may require. I know that there is strong justification, but at the same time it really does relate to how much or how many dollars are sitting in the coffers at any particular time. So I guess roads are really determined by way of priority. Which road network is required ahead of another? Where are the dollars going to be best spent in order to achieve the greatest outcome? Now, there is absolutely no question that the road that is being referred to in this particular example is a critical link in the tourism chain. And I would like to ensure that we can continue to lobby the state and federal government in respect to this road so that tourists who come to the area, who do leave their dollars here, who do go back home to their place of living and tell others about how great and wonderful the tourism opportunities are at the Bunya Mountains and other locations within the South Burnett. I think as a council, that particular section of road should be given a level of top priority in terms of attention. I am aware of the Nanango Weir. In fact, it was closed by the Nanango Shire Council back quite some years ago, and when the South Burnett Regional Council formed, it was decided to keep it closed. The reality of the situation is that it's an unsafe road for tourists to travel. I've been down the road. It is not the type of road that I would want to send tourists down. Now, in order for it to be considered, it really needs to be subjected to some level of business case. And as I'm sure every one of us understands, there's always competing influences, competing projects, and it would be a case of how well or otherwise does this particular project stack up against a range of others. It is a lovely location, I admit, but there are issues of safety and issues of cost. Look, I think that there are things that can be done within this region to bring more tourists to come and visit us. I'm going to ask myself a question. Why do I like going elsewhere to visit? Well, the reason is there are things different to what we have to offer here in the South Burnett. So what's likely to bring people to visit us here in the South Burnett? It is something different, experience type opportunities. Now, we already have a number of those within the South Burnett, so it's a case of focusing in on experience type opportunities, something to bring people, something that they want to see. In addition to that, we need to ensure that our towns and our villages are presentable, neat, that our streetscapes are attractive, and more than that, I believe that our streetscapes are in tune with 21st century. And that's what people appreciate, to have appropriate, coffee shops, eateries, and those types of things I believe are also very important. We are a friendly region. People who come to visit us in the South Burnett are always going to get our country-style hospitality, and that's something that we will never, I hope we would never ever lose. In reality, we have a lot more than 5 beautiful destinations that people can come along and visit. We have our dams, fishing, camping. This is something that a lot of people really enjoy. We have the Bunya Mountains, beautiful rainforests, great scenery. We have vineyards and wineries, great opportunities to go along and sample the wines. We have farm stays, and we have beautiful historical homesteads and buildings. And as I say, that's just the start of a range of wonderful opportunities for tourism within the area. Should I be elected mayor? I think it's within the responsibilities of the mayor to know and understand what the crime rates are. I would encourage working with the local police, with the AMBOs, with the emergency services to ensure that we as a council were making as positive a contribution as we possibly could. Regrettably, drugs are an increasing problem within this area, but when compared with other locations throughout Australia, I don't think that this area is any worse. In fact, if anything, probably less so than other locations. Again, it's a case of a council working with the police and working with those folk who are involved in managing drug situations to do whatever a council could to support those bodies. Again, it is with regret that I can say I am aware that there is a situation of domestic violence. Again, it's something that is prevalent right throughout the country. Now, I know that there are a lot of wonderful groups that work within the South Burnett region to support those who are in domestic violent situations. It would certainly be my intention, should I be the mayor, to give absolute and full encouragement and support to those groups and bodies who do look after those who are in domestic violent situations. It's always been my view that the council should do whatever it possibly can to retain the private hospital here in Kingaroy for the benefit of all residents within the South Burnett region. The retention, at least, of the visiting specialists and the day surgery is something that I consider to be vital as far as our residents are concerned. Now, I know that there's a lot of talk within the region about should council pay or should council not pay. I hold a very firm view that there will be forthcoming to the hospital support from a large beneficiary who will support the hospital in its operational costs. I think this is absolutely wonderful, and one that will guarantee that the private hospital's longevity in the area will remain. Again, with respect to the public hospitals, the issue of the Kingaroy Hospital has been on the agenda for years. It is very, very necessary that that hospital is also given a significant facelift. Better than that, completely demolished and restarted again. How do we go about that? It's a case of lobbying with the state government, whichever government is in power, to ensure that we get what we believe we deserve here in Kingaroy within the South Burnett. This hospital is 70, possibly 80 years old, maybe even older. It is overdue for that hospital to be replaced, refreshed, updated, and should I become the mayor, I would certainly push and advocate for that very, very earnestly. Yes, I will, and the way that it will be done is to continue to lobby with the health department within state government to ensure that those type of services are not denied the people of the South Burnett. In this day and age, we're living in the 21st century, people reasonably expect that those types of services would be available through the public health system. I believe it's the responsibility of a council to support people who have mental health issues in dealing with those crises. And I would, if I were elected to be the mayor, I would lobby hard to ensure that there are appropriate medical services provided at our public hospital at least, And I would be prepared as the Mayor, should I be elected, to support those community organisations within our region to provide assistance wherever it was possible to ensure that these people with these health conditions are able to be supported. Alcohol is a substance that is abused. A responsible council would continue to support those agencies who provide educational programs. If I was to become the Mayor, I'd like to encourage and support our council to support those who are providing assistance. In reality, there's never enough assistance provided for those who are in desperate need. Again, a responsible council would want to try and understand what the true situation is within the region, and again, support those who are supporting those families that are in need. There is no budget crisis with the finances of the South Burnett Regional Council, and in order for me to make that as a statement, I'll go on the report from the Queensland Treasury Corporation that states that the finances of this council is better than most of a council of the size of the South Burnett Regional Council. Yes, there is a debt structure of some $40 million at present, but the loan repayment program is adequately covered. There is no budget crisis. Council is no more or no less a large business that operates in the same way as do many others. When a budget is put together, certainly the financial manager takes a careful look at how the dollars are being spent. The same applies within the South Burnett Regional Council. Yes, there are always ways in which projects can be looked at and undertaken differently, and should I become the Mayor, I can assure that that will be my approach, looking at ways in which projects can be undertaken differently in order to save dollars wherever it's possible to save. By way of legislation, there is an open and transparent method of being able to provide the accounts to ratepayers. This is done during the budget preparation and process. When the budget is adopted, it's a document that is made available to the general public. Every month there is a financial report given to council. That report is available to ratepayers. And finally, the books of council are audited by the Queensland Audit Office on an annual basis. In reality, there are sufficient checks and balances in place at the moment to give ratepayers confidence that the money that is collected by way of rates is being spent and used wisely. The issue of transparency is one that is covered off in the Local Government Act. There are certain things that need to be reported, and where there is a need to report, such documents are made available and presented to ratepayers for their scrutiny. In relation to ratepayers wanting to know how their rate funds are being spent, I believe is adequately covered through the documentation that's provided. There are literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of transactions in a financial year. Those financial transactions are summarised in the budget document, they are summarised in the annual report, they are summarised by way of a pie chart to give our ratepayers a clear understanding of the grouping and how those dollars are being spent on which functions within council. In respect to financial waste, it's a matter of properly equipping the general managers and their subordinate managers to properly prepare budgets to clearly understand what money is required for which projects. And should I be elected as the Mayor, it would be my clear intention to ensure that there is a proper process in place so that the opportunity or the risk of spending unnecessarily is eliminated. I am aware that within Council there is a fraud and misconduct policy so that misappropriations, inadvertent expenditure is properly kept under watch. So I think it's a responsibility of both the Mayor and the councillors to ensure that ratepayers' monies are spent appropriately. In respect to the road levy, I believe that it is an income stream that a council cannot do without. If the road levy income was denied, then there would be two things that would happen. One, there would be a great amount of, a far lesser amount of money that is spent on roads, or there would be significant reductions in the provision of other services, be that parks, libraries, swimming pools, etc. This is a situation of no win. You either disenfranchise other services that council provides, or if you take the road levy away and it's not supported by any other means, well then the level of road complaints will go through the roof. The situation is that the income from the road levy is vital to ensure that we as a council can properly restore roads within the whole of the region. The issue of roads is one that will always draw a lot of attention by ratepayers, irrespective of where they live. And I don't deny a ratepayer the opportunity of expressing their feelings about their roads. There is a process within council, and I'd like to encourage ratepayers who do have road complaints to utilise the system that is within council. There are factors such as safety, such as location, where the crews may be working at any particular time, as to how quickly that particular road imperfection will be attended to. In respect to a roadside waste delivery service, the reality is that those who do receive it pay an additional fee. Those who don't receive it have access to the waste transfer stations. In respect to the design of roads, our engineering team are limited by the amount of money that is provided in the budget. In truth, if there was an abundance of cash, engineers would be able to design roads that may possibly last for many, many years. There is always a paramount demand on the amount of money that's in the budget to do the best the engineers can with the amount of cash that's available in the budget. And there's a number of factors that are taken into consideration, not just the soil type, the location, whether the road is on a flat, whether the road is on a hill, but the qualified engineers do the best they possibly can, and I believe that they deserve the support of council. The situation with parking is one that really hasn't raised its head as being one that is of great demand throughout the region. Let me say though, should it occur, and when it does occur, there are other opportunities for council to provide additional parking areas, certainly within some of the towns that I'm aware of. And as I say, when the situation occurs, I'm sure that council will be able to deal with it appropriately. In respect to roadsides, I'd like to carve this up into two sections. Firstly, within an urban area, it is clearly a case of the property owner to attend to their footpaths in an urban built-up area. In respect to rural roads that are on or who have a bitumen carriageway, that is a responsibility that council can undertake, and in a situation such as this, if mowing is not being attended to, the process to deal with would be through a customer request through the Customer Services Department in council. In regard to the budgetary process for roads, there are two elements to it. One, maintenance, and secondly, capital. In regard to capital, we have a situation where grants do come through from the state and the federal governments, and they can vary from one year to the other. In regard to the current budget in which we're working, there's something like $14.6 million being invested in capital projects. In regard to road maintenance, there is a figure of around about $7 million being invested in maintenance. In regard to the allocation of the capital spend on roads, there is a consideration given to the regions, and this is based on the councillors of the day doing what we call a road tour, driving around the region and having pre-knowledge of the most seriously impacted roads, take a look at those and then prioritise them in terms of where the dollars are going to be spent. In respect to road maintenance, there are certainly road maintenance issues that are known to the engineering team, and ahead of a new budget being developed, it's clearly understood where some of that money is going to be spent. But maintenance is just that. When an issue occurs that requires maintenance, well, we know that we have a pool of money available that can be applied toward the correction of a particular problem. Suffice to say, there is never enough money within the capital budget, nor indeed the maintenance budget, to do all the jobs that are sitting out there in front of the engineering team to attend to. In reality, there is a need for even greater amounts of money than lesser amounts of money in order to keep ahead of the road needs of the entire South Burnett region. In regard to whether or not this capital works are attended to by council workers or by contractors depends on the available amount of money. If there is a large amount of money that's received from federal or state governments for roadworks, it's totally impossible for the road gangs within the regional council to attend. We generally like to spend the money that is given within a 12-month period. Very often contractors are brought in to attend to some of the capital works in order to spend the money within the year in which it's given. In respect to the amount of work that's done by our own workforce, we have a standard number of employees who work on the road gangs. If there is a greater amount of work to be done as a consequence of grant monies coming forward, well then this is supplemented by contractors. The other consideration is the location of works that are being done. It takes a lot of organising to schedule some level of program so that there is not time being wasted nor downturn in the usage of the equipment. So it's a case of developing a program that exercises and utilises the best use of the plant, the equipment, and also the labour force. The allocation processes is a matter that the General Manager of Infrastructure struggles with all the time. His responsibility is to ensure that he maximises on the amount of work that is conducted within a week, a month, a year, so that there is not machinery and equipment time that's being wasted, nor staff time being wasted. So I'd have to say that it is a continual struggle to manage an appropriate program and scheduling to achieve the best return for the available dollars that's in his budget for road construction purposes and also road maintenance purposes. The Central Queensland University coming to set up in the South Burnett in premises that the South Burnett Regional Council will provide is an exciting new opportunity. In fact, it could be regarded as a new economic development opportunity for the South Burnett region. It provides the opportunity for students not to have to move away from their hometowns to undertake their studies. It provides the opportunity for students who are already involved in postgraduate work to undertake research work within the region for various businesses. There's a lot of positives that come out of the introduction of the CQ University establishment here in the South Burnett, and it's one that I look forward to with a great degree of enthusiasm. And again, should I be elected as the Mayor, it is one that would be foremost in my mind in terms of the total education processes that are available within our region. To help younger employees with traineeships, I'd like to suggest that the South Burnett Regional Council is displaying leadership in this particular area, whereby in this particular budget year we have engaged 8 trainees on a Commonwealth Government program whereby skills training will be provided to these younger people. Now, in the Regional Council being a leader in this regard, I'd like to see that other businesses may also follow suit and take up the opportunity of providing traineeships for young workers within our region to spare them having to move away from the area to find employment. In respect to the utilisation of solar energy, I think it's a great idea, but before Council spends any money on any project, they should do, or they will do, under my leadership of Mayor, should I be elected, is that we do a proper business case, learn to understand what the total costs of the project are before we decide to go about and do it. If there is a reasonable payback from the utilisation of solar energy, well then I would be supportive of that. And the reason for that would be, if we can do things that's going to reduce the total expenditure in our budget, well then that's good for every ratepayer within the region. The South Burnett Regional Council owns a number of parcels of land. Some of them are small allotments, others, like the old council depot in Somerset Street, Kingaroy, happens to be a large and what I would consider to be a very valuable parcel of land. This particular land site is currently being put out to expressions of interest for opportunities for someone to purchase the land or to construct a business there. We need to, as a council, be aware of the land that we need to keep for council's own purposes, be that in the near future or distant future, but land sitting on our books going or not being used constructively ought not to be there. It should be sold and the funds returned back to council to be reinvested in other capital acquisitions. In regard to renewable energy projects, there's only 2 that really come to mind, and one is the wind farm project and the other is solar power. Now, solar power has been used extensively by individuals within the region, but there has not been a major project in regard to solar. However, on the side of renewable energy from wind, there has been a substantial project put forward in the Corango North area, which is yet, as far as I'm aware, is unresolved, but the resolution is not one that has been happily agreed to by all parties within the area. So in lots of respect, whether it's solar, whether it's wind farm, or whether it be some other form of renewable energy, each of them require the support of the community. And the community has a right to express whether or not they feel happy or otherwise about the concept of those projects occurring in their particular locality. It's an important decision for all Australian citizens. I would like to hear the points expressed. I'd like to participate in the debate, but from a personal point of view, at this point of time, I have no problems. I have to be honest and say that this is one that I'm not totally familiar with, but at the same time, I would be very keen to listen to the debate, listen to the points of view being expressed before I made my decision. Frankly, I consider the preservation of the First Peoples language as being culturally very important and very significant, and for that purpose it would have my total support. Bridging the gap with the Indigenous people within the region here is one that I take very seriously. A situation exists at the moment where we do cultivate a relationship with the Cherbourg Aboriginal Council. We have, through our portfolio system, one of our councillors assigned to cover off on this particular portfolio. They are our friends, and we work together on particular projects. They are very important to us culturally and from an economic point of view. Now, if we within the South Burnett can apply an attitude whereby we regard our Indigenous brothers and sisters as being culturally significant to us, that is a great step toward bridging the gap. Technology is always improving. There's new programs available all the time. And within reason, subject to financial availability, financial expense, Council should keep itself abreast of the new movements in technology for the benefit of the ratepayers of the region. We're living in exciting times as far as information technology is concerned. We have a situation whereby a number of our staff are field staff. We have a number of our key staff in terms of planning, plumbing, engineering, working within the administrative complexes. The opportunity for the field staff to be able to engage with the necessary staff who are in the office simply improves the total process. It safeguards against errors being made. It gets an immediate, or it has the result of an immediate answer being able to be provided by their supervisors or their superior within another location. And really this can be extended to encompass ratepayers themselves as well. We have 5 or 6 different locations whereby different staff are located in different offices. If a ratepayer turns up at one office and the person to whom they wish to speak is operating from another office, why not create the opportunity of a Skype telephone call where the ratepayer is able to speak directly, not by telephone, speak directly, see the person's face, and in addition to that we have the situation whereby a number of meetings are held whereby staff travel from one office to another to assemble together. Just imagine the amount of savings that could occur whereby we have staff co-linked by way of a video conferencing call by way of the Skype system. That all represents efficiency. Should I become the Mayor of the South Burnett Regional Council, these are the sorts of things that I'd like our Chief Executive Officer and his staff to be able to introduce and implement. This council is a very strong advocate to get rid of or eliminate the black spots that currently exist within our telecommunications area. And again, should I become the mayor of this council, that's one item on the agenda. It's very high on the agenda. The impact it has on successfully operating businesses alone is a sufficient reason to ensure that these matters are attended to with a degree of urgency to ensure that our people within the South Burnett region are not hampered by inadequate telecommunication systems. Technology will necessarily drag us into an era where there will be less paper and more communication via electronic medium. I think it's quite some time up the track. Already a large amount of our communicative ability is done via the internet, emails. Seldom are the occasions now where you need to write a letter, you send an email. So I would doubt that we will become totally paperless, but I will see that paper will play a lesser role within the functions of council in the years ahead, simply because the electronic technology is just becoming so much more advanced year by year. I'm a conservative person in my voting preferences, but what I regard as being more important is the fact of the mayor being capable of working with whichever government is in power. And from the perspective of being the mayor, should I become the mayor of the South Burnett Regional Council, I will adopt an apolitical position in the sense that my capacity and willingness to work with either a Labor government or a Liberal national government will be equal. The reality is that those governments are selected by the people of either the state or the people of the whole of Australia. And that's the people's choice. The responsibility of the mayor is to be able to work comfortably with whoever is in power for the benefit of the region, and by working for the region in that regard produces the best results for the ratepayers within the region. I've been a councillor for 17 years and I've been the deputy mayor for 8 years. I've covered off on a number of the portfolio areas over the whole of the period, the 17 years. In more recent times, my portfolio areas have been in the area of planning, in the area of finance, in the area of information technology. I'm on the Disaster Management Committee, I'm on the Audit Committee, I'm on the Police Consultative Committee, I serve on the Wide Bay Burnett Regional Organisation of Councils, I'm the chairman of the BIEDO, that's Burnett Inland Economic Development Association, and I have a number of other linkages and associations. In truth, I believe that my spread of involvements and the networks and relationships that I've built up over the last 8 years as the Deputy Mayor and going back even further for the 17 years are just are very, very important credentials. It has given me a total appreciation of the way council operates, covering off on a range of disciplines within council. One of the other factors that I believe is important is the way in which I'm able to relate to ratepayers. I feel comfortable talking to them about their issues, their concerns, And I think that's one of the hallmarks, that's one of the really important factors associated with being a councillor. It's not so much ramming my point of view down their throat, but rather listening to what they have to say and working together to achieve some type of an outcome to the issue that may be causing them some bother. So, you know, in terms of my experience, I believe that I have covered off on a broad range of activities associated with being a councillor that prepares me very adequately for the role of Mayor of the South Burnett Regional Council should I be elected. Am I going to give myself a pay rise should I be elected as Mayor? The answer is no. And why is the answer no? The situation is that the pay rates for councillors and Mayor are determined by an independent tribunal. That tribunal takes into consideration a whole range of factors associated to the workload, etc., that accompanies the different size councils throughout Queensland. So I think that's a very wise decision to have placed upon mayors and councillors, whereby it's an independent body that determines the pay rates, not a group of councillors, a mayor and councillors sitting around a table arguing about whether they should be paid more or whether they should be paid less, whether the benefits should be greater or whether the benefits should be lesser. I think ratepayers generally can feel comfortable that it's out of the hands of the mayor and the councillors, it's in the hands of a state tribunal that puts together the salary packages for mayors and councillors. The matter of pay rates is really not the issue when it comes to serving a community as either a mayor or councillors. The issue is, I believe there's a level of self-sacrifice that goes with it. A mayor and councillors don't do this work because of the pay rate that it has attached to it. They do it because of their desire to bring benefits to their community by being able to be supportive of their community, by looking out for their community in terms of economic development, in terms of road improvements, in terms of all those factors, provision of services, all those factors that help to make our community, our region, the place that makes people happy to live here and want to stay here and make their home here. I'm very happy to report that the South Burnett Regional Council has, through its audit committee, on which I serve, established a set of policies and procedures to detect crime and fraudulent activities within council. Now, why is this necessary? Well, the reality is that at different times in different councils, those activities have occurred. And I think it just presents a very clean methodology of being able to keep track of all the transactions within council. Now, there are literally hundreds of thousands of transactions within council each year. A number of those transactions are assigned to a whole range of different staff persons. It's quite amazing to study the policies and procedures that are in place that, as far as is reasonable and possible, will detect any discrepancies and anomalies. So I'm very, very happy to say that the perception about corruption is just that, a perception. But should there be someone who feels that there is a corrupt activity going on, that there is other methods, other structures in which this can be sought out as well through the Crime and Corruption Committee or Corporation, let it be known that I am not aware of any level of corruption that takes place within the South Burnett Regional Council. But if there is someone who believes it is, please report it. have it checked out, but I have spent 17 years within council, and I have not been a witness to anything that would raise alarm bells as far as corruption is concerned. I'm happy to say that the South Burnett is already a multicultural society. We have people living within our region who've come from all countries around the world, and it's very encouraging to see so many persons from different cultures who are happily engaged in working within our businesses. What I do find to be very disappointing is that there have been, at times, as has been reported to me, people who've come from different countries, who dress differently, who've been treated rather shabbily by some of our residents within the region. Now, what does it take for them to understand that every person, irrespective of the clothing that they wear or how they wear their clothing, they are a human being. They deserve to be treated as a human being. They are our fellow brothers and sisters. So what I'd like to commend to our ratepayers, our residents of the South Burnett, is to open your hearts, educate yourself, understand that these people who come to visit are coming to visit because they have dollars in their pockets. They are tourists. They want to see what happens within the South Burnett region, and we should embrace them and encourage them as best we possibly can. So racial intolerance is not something that I condone. In fact, given the chance to be the Mayor of the South Burnett Regional Council, I'd like to ensure that we adopt through our libraries, perhaps, an educational program whereby people can be enlightened as to different cultures, some of their habits and what have you, so that we don't need to feel threatened because somebody who dresses differently or appears differently can be embraced and welcomed into our community as we would anybody else who comes to visit with us. Every day, the South Burnett Regional Council provides public places and spaces for members of the public to go and enjoy. Now, be it a swimming pool, be it a park, be it even within our town hall forecourt, be it wherever within the whole of the South Burnett region. We literally take into our care and control, hundreds if not thousands of people every day of every week. It is our responsibility to ensure that these people are taken care of as best they possibly can, as best we can provide for them. Soft fall under playground equipment, for example, is just one. But we need to be conscious of our responsibilities to provide safe places and spaces for our folk here in the South Burnett region and anybody else who comes to visit with us. I believe that there are some people within our community who are just a little bit too blasé and cavalier about workplace health and safety. A lot of the questions that have been directed toward me and answered by me today require a strong element of education. Given the circumstances of workplace health and safety, in situations where a family or someone has been hurt, injured, or worse, killed, we don't need to have incidences like that to ramp home to us just how important workplace health and safety is to all of us, not just to councils, not just to the big workplaces, but to each and every one of us as individuals to engage in safe practices right within our homes, through our schools. This is the education process that our kids are being taught in schools today. We as the mature adults living within a region need to embrace it and not treat it as something that it's a bit ho-hum and we can take shortcuts. It doesn't pay. Lose a life and you suffer for a long time.